Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Friday. Good to see all of you guys in the chat, and I hope you're all doing good. So, we're going to talk a little bit about ammo tonight. The M855. I did a stream just a couple days ago talking about it, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. Also, some 9mm offerings and some other 223 and 556 because, well, if I had to guess, it's a close toss-up in this country between 9mm and 223/556. Yes, they're slightly different calibers, but we'll just put those two together. And I think that's mainly what people are talking about. Now, there's other reasons people are talking about it too. Could you imagine that? America's, now I don't mean of all time, I just mean right now, what it seems like everybody's buying and shooting and using. 9mm. 223/556. Oh, that's right. The former vice president says he's going to ban 9mm, right? And there's probably some funny business going on with the government and the Lake City, which would be the M855. Now, I'm sure you guys don't really believe in coincidence, do you? Think about that. The most two popular current, like right now, calibers in America. And there's something funny going on with both of them. Now, I've seen some of you talking in the chat already tonight. 30%, that's what they say, the M855 out of Lake City. That's the makeup of all of the 223/556 that's used by civilians, consumed by us in the United States. Well, if that's not bad enough, don't forget about this stuff. The Russian, I've talked about it quite a bit. This stuff's banned from import. Now, you can still see it available in places here and there, but once all the stockpiles and the warehouses are depleted, this is gone. Now, I never really quite heard it broken down as to exactly what percentage of 223 and 9mm and 7.62x39, like what was what. But let's just say this, Russian ammo at large, like all of it combined, well, that's about 30% of the U.S.'s general ammo supply. Yeah, think about that. And then you think about the prices of gas. And you think about, they call it the Great Reset, the new social order. It makes you really start to wonder. But don't worry, just buy a $60,000 electric car, even though your problem right now is you can't afford $5. In this case, in southeastern Michigan, $5.29 per gallon for gas. Now, diesel fuel, that's $5.99 if you're lucky, and they haven't changed their prices yet. But most of the pumps around here are switching over to about $6.29 for diesel where I'm at. Yeah, this is all happening at once. And you guys are frustrated, and I'm frustrated. And it's probably because you're smart, and probably because a lot of you guys hate your government, which that's okay. They're only allowed to exist at the consent of the governed. But you know, there's still a lot of good people living in this country, don't you? At least that's what I know. And you still love America, and you still love this idea of an experiment on self-governance, a republic if we can keep it. So I want you guys all to keep your chins up because there's a lot going on. I'm going to talk about some of those issues. I'm going to try to offer you guys some encouragement tonight. I'm also going to just talk about some specific ammo. Some of you guys might like that part a little more. Some of you might like to talk about life, and I'm just going to be myself and talk about both. We're also going to talk about those senators, the so-called compromise on your natural rights that were endowed by your creator, not granted by government, not given by government. And this is a topic I'm going to talk about later. The government has no rights. Literally, they have no rights, whether it's federal, state, or local, but you do. And you guys need to remember that. We're going to talk about some of these senators, and I've talked about them recently on this channel. And that's a fight we need to stay in because we might still have a chance with that. So I definitely want to talk about that. I've got a bunch of 223 and 556 ammo nearby here. I've got some 9mm, some pretty cool offerings. I'm going to show you this at a certain point tonight. I have some 8mm Mauser. See right there? Some old 8mm Mauser. Speaking of USGI ammo, we did a whole stream talking about this. If you guys are new to the channel, you might want to go check that out. But I have another box here of the M1911 pistol ball. Now, this come out of Indiana, but this was government arsenal ammo. That's in addition to the one that I already showed you guys before. So, yeah, we're going to talk ammo and just hang out. And like I said, I hope you guys have a good time tonight. First of all, I want to thank everyone who supports this channel. I really, really appreciate you guys. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you go check out my locals community. You can be a supporter over there, get access to a few more perks, or you can join totally free and see extra content, videos, daily deals, stuff that I literally can't post on YouTube, but that's another site. And it has a whole separate terms and conditions. Basically, there's no rules governing firearms whatsoever on locals. And I do live streams. Like I literally did one last night, kind of out of the blue. I normally do them on Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, and I touch guns while I'm live. And that's also a place you guys can support the channel for free. I know tons of you guys are buying M855 and all kinds of 223, 556. I posted awesome deals over there. So check out the link in the description. Susan WikiWiki. We're not linking to it here. Hi, Susan, and all the people from YouTube that are watching right now. Welcome to the show. We're not linking to any site that sells this stuff here. But if you go over to that link for my locals post, that's another site. I can, and hopefully it helps you guys out because I know some really good deals right now. And it's also a way you can help the channel totally free. And I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. So many of you have been helping out for a long time. Channel members, people that just like send me stuff, people that do super chats, and of course all the supporters over on locals. I really, really appreciate you guys. And that's how I'm able to do these streams and be myself. And I don't do paid sponsorship roles from the industry. You guys are my supporters in all those different ways that I just said. So definitely appreciate you guys. You can seriously help the channel so much just by like going over to locals and clicking on some of those links. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but when you're doing your normal shopping, if you could take the 10 seconds, go over there and give it a click, that all adds up and keeps this channel independent and legit, and where I'm not doing paid reviews and paid for a positive review and all that stuff that so many people fear and don't like about YouTube, right? So the M855, I think I was one of the very first to report that. I did it late at night on a live stream here on YouTube. And yeah, it came from The Truth About Guns with a tweet from Larry Keene. Now, he's the head of the NSSF, and from what I understand, also their chief legal counsel. I believe I'm characterizing it correctly that he's basically the top dog there. Somebody that would be in the know. Now, I had a couple people say, well, hold on a minute. The NSSF, they've been discredited. Well, maybe that's an improper use to that. Look, I have an issue with the NSSF right now. They said they would actually support this Senate deal compromise for the red flag laws if they were robust due process or something. Look, I did a whole stream just dedicated to this topic recently. By literal definition, red flag laws are no due process. There's no such thing as take the guns first, then due process. It's impossible. A right delayed is a right denied, and the core principle of due process is first. You have to have these certain steps. And these are literally prescribed in the Bill of Rights. And without that, it's just word games. And I'm sick and tired of all these people trying to insult our intelligence and trying to say stuff like, well, this is just common sense. This is reasonable. Oh, so that assumes you don't have common sense and you're not reasonable if you don't just lap up all their gun control. Very, very insulting terms. It's also an insult to your intelligence when they say stuff like, well, this is going to be red flag laws with robust due process. No, it's not. No, it's not. The Bill of Rights is very, very clear what due process of law is. And I talked about this for over an hour the other night about this Senate bill. I believe it was just this past Sunday. It violates almost every last word of the Bill of Rights, the 14th Amendment, the 9th Amendment, which means you basically have unlimited rights. Yeah, literally. So the NSSF, the fact that they would support anything like that at all, I'm not with it. Don't agree with them whatsoever. And I don't mistake them for a gun rights organization. They're not. That's not what I consider them to be anyways. In my opinion, they're not a gun rights organization, but what they are is an industry organization that the industry pays dues into, and they represent the industry. Now, that may become adjacent to our natural rights that are protected by the Second Amendment, but I don't consider them to be an advocacy for gun rights. And in this case, certainly not. They're the ones that put on SHOT Show, for example. Plenty of money to be made in the firearms business. Don't forget that, guys. Plenty of money to be made. Not me, but like people that are actually in the business, in the industry, right? And that's what they do. Now, the NSSF, while I don't like their view whatsoever on these red flag laws, I don't think that discredits the fact that they're going to be in the know when it comes to stuff like this. So when Larry Keane tweets out that he's hearing that it's a little bit better chance than probably, right, that they're going to be cutting off the civilian sales of the M855, which is made by Winchester at the United States Army's Lake City factory, right? That's going to be out of Missouri. That's somebody who would know. He would be probably in the know on that. Now, there's been more people report on it since then. Another organization that I vehemently disagree with on so many things, the NRA ILA, is now also reporting on the M855, the ban of sales to civilians, right? Again, I'm much more supportive of the GOA than the NRA. However, they still have a lot of ties to the industry. They still have a lot of connections, and that's somebody else that's now reporting on this. In addition to some of your favorite YouTubers, Legally Armed America. It's just a coincidence, but I've talked about him a couple streams straight here. He actually called and spoke to a colonel, I believe it was, with the United States Army that has something to do with this whole Lake City thing, and their answer was kind of weird. Their answer kind of sounded like semantics to me. And if I get a chance here, I might play a little part of that clip tonight because I thought it was interesting. And I say hats off to Paul Galasco at Legally Armed America for going through all the effort to finally get somebody to call him back and talk to him on the phone. That was pretty cool. Look, are they stopping the sale of M855 ammo? Maybe not technically right this second, but if I were to opine, I would say, look, it's either happened and they just haven't quite technically dotted their I's and crossed their T's yet, or it's going to happen. I really think so. Can I guarantee it? No, but that's why there's that old saying that hindsight is always 20/20, right? And sometimes that's a good thing. Like, oh, geez, if I would have known this back then, I could have done this, this, and this, and we'd all be rich and we'd all whatever. I mean, but that's why it's hindsight, and that's why it has perfect 20/20 vision. Also, sometimes there's the case where I guess ignorance is bliss, right? I wish somehow I didn't know now what I didn't know then. That's lyrics from a Toby Keith song that I've listened to in the past. I think it's going through. Now, should you guys panic for M855 or not? Well, that's up to you. I encourage all of you to do whatever you do. Am I recommending that you panic? No, not really. Don't panic. I said this the other day, and I'll say it again. If you were already going to be buying some when you got paid today, or you're going to get paid tomorrow or whatever, and you're like, well, it was on my list. You looked at your list and it said, let's see here. Today's the 17th. On the 28th, I'm gonna buy a case of M855 green tip from Winchester, Lake City. Well, just buy it today to make sure, because you were already gonna buy it next week anyways. You know what I'm saying, right? So yeah, that's why I actually broke the news on it. I think I literally was the first person that broke it on here. Just so people would know, just so you would know. But again, I'm not going to tell you to panic buy. No, don't panic on it. Feed yourself, feed your family. But I'm not going to tell you not to do it either. It's totally up to you. Do whatever you want, right? But there's some other alternatives out there. And if green tip M855 is your favorite type of 5.56, then awesome. But if it's not, or you just don't know what's going on, I'm going to try to talk just a little bit tonight about some 5.56 and 223 ammo. And if you guys want my short answer, it's not necessarily the best. Seriously. Is it good ammo? Sure, it's military specification ammo made at a military ordnance factory. Excellent brass, made to exacting standards. Lake City, one of the most famous ammo production plants since like 1941. So, quality stuff. But I don't believe, and this is just my opinion, you guys can agree with me or disagree, I don't think it has any mythical qualities to it. First of all, it's not armor piercing. That's the argument we all use. Excuse me, guys. When we got the ATF to back off banning it, remember they tried to call it AP ammo just a few years ago. It's not armor piercing. Does it have a mild steel penetrator in it? Yes. Could it be better with certain barriers? Particularly, because this is what they literally tested and made it for, a particular type of Soviet helmet back in the day? Yes. But let's face it, 223 and 556, those are not anti-material rounds. I mean, they really aren't, if you want to be fair. Does that mean that they won't go through certain materials? No, I'm not saying that at all. And I think most of you, but there's always new people. So at the expense of boring some of you that know more than me, I like to kind of back up and start from the beginning on some of this stuff. It's not considered an anti-material round. That's just not what it is, right? It's an intermediate cartridge. It's 22 caliber. Yes, it goes fast. Certainly not the fastest. There's rounds that go much, much faster than 5.56, but it has speed going for it. It also has portability. You can get lots of rounds in a loadout, in a rig, in a bag, in a can, however you're moving it around, in the battlefield, while you're hunting, moving it around your house, whatever. You can move a lot of it around easy. You can carry quite a bit of it. There's certainly advantages. There's also certain doctrines of war where they said, well, hold on, instead of hitting them with a big old 30-06 that you can't carry as much of, right, and just wiping them out, it might be better to actually wound an enemy combatant. That way a couple of his healthy comrades have to pick him up and get him off the battlefield, and then have to have medics involved and resources involved. I mean, it sounds kind of scary to think about like that, but I mean, war is scary, and war is a very, very nasty thing. And although now it's up to about 60% of the people in the United States believe there's going to be a civil war, when we just start even thinking about that small little picture I said, maim somebody so it takes a couple other troops to drag them off the battlefield, and it's going to be really hard for those medics to render first aid. It's going to be really hard for that hospital to nasty stuff. So 60% of people think we're going to have a civil war. I would hope 99.9% of all reasonably minded people hope that it doesn't come to literally that. Now, before you guys say anything, I believe we're in one right now, but I mean an actual armed civil war like we had in the mid-1800s. I sure hope not. Well, back then we had big round muskets. You go around 45-70. The United States went on to 30-06. Okay. 7.62 by 51 NATO. 223 5.56. Completely lethal round. Like, obviously, duh. Not an anti-material round. It's not a heavy round. It's not shot through heavy machine guns. It's not considered infantry. And I'm just saying this because I hear so many comments where people are like, a green tip will like do all these crazy things that no other ammo in the world could do. Well, here's the thing. It was actually designed to defeat a particular type of Soviet helmet. When they called for it, they called for a round that would defeat a helmet. I'm not joking, guys. You can look it up. So it's good ammo. If it's your favorite ammo and you like it, awesome. Seriously, don't change anything. But if you're just wondering, like, what am I missing out on? I don't know. There might not be any reason you would ever like M855. It might never be the best choice for you. And I'll give you guys a couple of scenarios where it actually probably would be one of your worst choices. And this is only, what I'm about to talk about is only in regard to just trying to help you guys with just a little education, maybe a little peace of mind. This is not cutting the government any slack at all. If Brandon, the former vice president, right? Let's go, Brandon. He's a real beauty, isn't he? Let's go, Brandon. Now, if they're doing this for any nefarious reasons, if they're doing this for any backdoor gun control, no. And here's the problem. Even if you don't ever shoot M855, 62 green tip, you can call it many things, it's going to affect all 5.56 ammo. If it's 30% of the market and it all of a sudden dries up soon, it's going to make it where 100% of the people are now competing for 70% of the resources. And we know what happens when there's more consumers than there are products. Look at gas and food and everything else. So it affects everything. There's no excuse for it. But green tip might not be your favorite round, and it might be. Now, for the 223, there's a couple different theories you could look at with this round. It's either going to have its velocity, to have some certain characteristics that it relies on when it hits a target, Or it's going to have other special properties like maybe fragmentation, expansion, things like that. And when you look at a couple of the most common rounds, you've got M193, which I know I had some of that sitting over here. M193. This was a round that, was made famous, let's say, in Vietnam era afterwards. Okay. Designed to be shot out of a 20-inch barreled M16 and the different variants thereof. This is going to get out of there at over 3,000 foot per second, 3,200, something in that range. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. This particular offering, being the IMI, doesn't actually have a velocity on there. Then we could say as we progressed, and some people are literally going to say as we regressed, because some people think that M193 is a much better choice than the M855 green tip. I know in Somalia there was a lot of issues with it, shooting those hopped up on drugs, the skinnies they call them, malnourished people that were basically starving to death, not a lot of fluidic medium in them where the bullet could achieve its certain characteristics. And look, I could talk for months about ammo, and I'm not even an ammo expert, but I'll try to describe a few tonight. It was what's called ice picking, and it was just picking neat little holes through them, which they may have bled out eventually from. They may have been mortal wounds, but they weren't threat-stopping wounds. Stories of USGIs pumping a whole mag into a skinny in Somalia and them still coming at them. There were mobs and hordes in certain situations and in certain firefights. It didn't have that terminal performance to stop the threat, because that's what it's about when you're in war, or if you're civilian in self-defense, is it's about stopping the threat, right? At least I would hope nobody would be doing anything for any like menacing reasons. I certainly don't condone that. No, you do it to protect life, stop the threat in the civilian world. If you're in the military, you need to win the battle, win the war, defeat the enemy. The M855 was ice picking them. Well, there's a couple reasons why. First of all, they were extremely, extremely skinny. Like literally. Here's a case of the Winchester. This is from Lake City. M855 green tip. We can see this has a pelvis velocity of like 3,060 foot per second, and that's probably going to be out of a 20-inch barrel. So we're already a couple hundred solid foot per second, and I'm rounding, guys. If some of you guys want to correct my math by the minutia, you can, I get it. But I'm just kind of trying to round to make this more of a general hangout conversation. We're a couple hundred foot per second less, okay? And we have a bullet that stabilizes differently than 55 grain, different barrel twist rate optimizations. There's tons of stuff to take into account. But if this bullet isn't going fast enough, it's actually known just to poke. I'm sorry, this one too, any of them actually. Even the M193, I held this up thinking it was M855. I'm sorry. It's known just to put a nice, neat little hole, which doesn't do good at stopping threats. Now, when that projectile is up over 3,000-ish, there's a magic number. I just can't recite it right now. I don't have a script, guys. When it reaches a certain foot per second, it has certain characteristics, and that's going to be impacted on the barrel length. It's going to be the twist rate. You could have a very slow twist rate, like 1 in 12, which is what you would look at like a Vietnam era, sometimes even slower than that for the very early ones, all the way up to like a 1 in 7 twist rate, right? And if you factor in those characteristics, it's called the fleet yaw. Fleet, Y-A-W. You guys can look up fleet yaw, M855, or whatever caliber you want afterwards, and you'll see much more in-depth stuff than I'd ever be willing to talk about in a live stream like this. Well, what's the moral of the story? For it to have its characteristics, for it to be able to yaw, for it to be able to veer, because let's face it, you're hitting somebody with the 22 caliber. Whether it's 55 grain, whether it's 62 grain, whether it's 77 grain, on the scope of rifle rounds, that ain't that heavy. I mean, think about it. It's really, really not that heavy at all. So you're relying on other characteristics, like when it would hit the fluidic medium, the target, if you were in war per se. You might rely on it actually veering off. You're also going to rely on its speed, not only creating a temporary wound cavity, but a permanent wound cavity just due to the disruption from that sheer hydraulic force. Something goes through a hydraulic medium at over 3,000 foot per second, it's going to sound like little ripples, right? If you looked at it in slow motion, it would look like foo, 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 foo. And it'd almost be like water jetting somebody with a super high power washer just... And the fluid that's in your body becomes your own worst enemy because it's acting on organs. It's breaking apart tissue. It's using the fluid against your body's cellular structure and membranes. Now, notice what I mentioned, though, so far. I talked about the 20-inch barrel. And that's what the M193 was developed out of. That's what the M855 was developed out of. But do a quick show of hands if you guys want. How many of you guys, now if you own one, that's cool. But how many of you guys, you can let me know either way in the comments. Just talk amongst yourselves and I'll take a peek at it. Whatever I can't see while I'm live, I'll definitely see after the fact. I always read these chats and that's why it's worth coming back the next week. So 20-inch barrel. How many of you guys, first of all, even own a 20-inch barreled AR? 20-inch or longer, we'll say, for this conversation. And even if you do own one, the next question is it your go-to? Is it your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? If you're more of an AK guy like me, and you have a 5.56 AK, you can use the same, thing I'm asking right now. Just fill in the blank for your AK. If you're a 7.62 by 39 guy, of course it's superior to 5.56 in every way. We already know that. I'm just joking, AR guys. I'm just joking. But, oh boy, somebody just left. They'll be back. What do you think, Southpaw? Will they be back? Okay. No, seriously, though. How many of you guys have a 20 inch as your go-to? Because what's cool about me having this channel here and then my channel on Locals, other places, is I see a lot of conversations. I don't know for sure what y'all are doing, but I have a pretty good temperature check of the room. I would guess most people out there probably have about a 16-inch barreled AR, or maybe a 10.5. 10.5 to 12 is real common. Tons and tons and tons of AR pistols out there. Now, when you have a round, we're talking about the M855 green tip. Let's go back to that. This designed out of a 20-inch barrel, okay? A 20-inch barrel. To get over, you could say it's a little over 3,000 foot per second, right? That's within fairly close range. Obviously, if you're getting out like the 500 meters, it's going to slow down because, well, that's just what happens. All objects are affected by gravity and the Earth's spinning and all of these laws of physics. So, but if you're shooting it out of that short barrel, you're never going to hit that 3,000 plus foot per second. And I'm telling you guys can look this up because I'm not going to give you all the geekery right now, but I just want to let you know this information's out there because some people, when they're new or otherwise, just don't even know it exists to go look it up. And that's why it's fun sometimes just to get off in a little rabbit hole. You fall too much below that 3,000 foot per second mark, and a lot of things start to change really fast. How it impacts that fluidic medium inside. That would be your permanent wound cavity versus just the temporary wound cavity, right? Whether the bullet has the ability to tumble maybe when it hits a medium, a target. Whether it can veer off. Look up fleet, F-L-E-E-T, yaw, Y-A-W. I know it sounds weird, but that's what it's called. Look up the fleet yaw effect. It has to do with barrel lengths, twist rates, combining all that with speed of a certain projectile. I'll give an example. You might only be at 2,800 foot per second out of a 16-inch barrel with a 62 grain-ish. And it might still do a good job defeating a particular Soviet helmet, but it might not. And it might start to have characteristics of just kind of passing right through the target, which is still very lethal. None of this is a toy. You need to respect all of these rounds. Obviously, respect a BB gun. Don't even point a BB gun at anything you don't intend to destroy. I truly mean that. We're just talking like between different rounds with the baseline that, yes, they're all very, very lethal. No, I'm not going to stand downrange in front of one to prove which one. People say that a lot. They're like, well, if you don't think this particular round will do this, why don't you go stand in front of one? And it's like, really? Really? So let's get that out of the way. You might find yourself in that situation. Now, if you got a short-barreled AR, And this isn't me trying to veer you guys away from green tip. I'm just saying there is no free lunch. There is no answer where it's just like, this is the round for them all, the round to rule them all. It just literally totally depends how long your barrel is. What's your effective range, right? How much money do you have? Because I'm going to show you guys an awesome, awesome round for probably 90% of your 223, 556 guns out there. And it costs twice as much. We'll talk about this in just a minute as M855 or M193. And I bet you for 99% of the people watching, 90 to 99%, this is probably the best ammo for you or something equivalent. But there's cost, and that matters too. Now, what are you shooting at? Are you going to potentially be dealing with a live target, right? According to the former vice president, deer aren't wearing Kevlar vests, so you don't need, look, none of this has to do with what you need. If there's anything nefarious with the Lake City plan, it's completely BS. But back to the actual ammo itself again. Can you guys believe this? Let's go, Brandon. I just want to say it again because this is all literally a bunch of BS right now, period. But it's still fun to talk about ammo, right? All right. 193. Let's go back to that again. M193. That's another military designation. This is going to be for a 55 grain full metal jacket. Out of about a 20-inch barrel, this is where you could expect to gain approximately-ish about 200 foot per second out of the same 20-inch barrel. You guys notice in the pattern, actually, these rounds perform best out of 20-inch barrels, but they've been deemed by most of us, and I get it, I'm included in that, to be maybe a little bit unwieldy, right? Maybe a little tough to use in an urban environment within a building, maybe a little bit heavy, right? Things like that. Although my M16A1 clone that's I can't show here because I'm on YouTube, but it's a semi-auto, but it's built off an original Colt USGI Vietnam era with the triangle Bakelite plastic type handguards, actually super, super lightweight, like lighter than most 16-inch carbines I know of. But anyways, I digress. Due to most of those reasons, a lot of us are running around with 16-inch barrels. M193, you're starting off a little bit faster, okay? So if I had to pick, I'm just talking about the two most common military designation of rounds in the United States, M193, M855. If I had to pick between the two, I'd probably go with M193. Seriously, there's a better chance that it's going to have enough speed where it can start to have some of its more lethal characteristics. Now, if you're shooting at paper at relatively close ranges, not going to matter a whole lot. Now, your point of aim could still change even at 100, 200 yards. Don't get me wrong. But once you find your point of aim, all these rounds are going to be pretty darn accurate as long as you can do your job. As long as your gun's not like a total, like, shot out, dilapidated mess. Even a gun that has a ton of rounds on it usually still has more inherent accuracy than most of us. Most of us. I'll speak for myself. I've rarely found a gun that I can outshoot the actual inherent accuracy of the gun itself. But there's a few people that can. And a few people that need to buy $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 rifles so they can reach their personal skills and their plateau and their, peak performance. I'm not that good of a shooter. So when I'm shooting paper, it doesn't really matter the barrel length. Any of these rounds are perfectly fine for me, quite frankly. But if I were to opine on the two, now there's no situation that you can completely and utterly prepare for. I would say this round here, M850 or M193 being 55 grains. All right. A little bit faster out of the barrel, but it's actually still not going to reach its peak performance out of a 16-inch barrel, and that can actually be a good thing. Seriously. It can actually not completely stabilize, and it can hit the target not fully stabilized in some instances, and that's actually not a bad thing because a small bullet can kind of act a little bigger than it is if it has the ability to move around a little bit when it hits the target. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a bad thing. If I was trying to get through a very, very light barrier, just back to what I said earlier, though, and again, I'm not ripping on the round. I just want people to be realistic and understand these things. No 5.56 or 2.23 is a truly anti-material round. It's not designed to raise buildings. It's not designed to take out armored vehicles. it's just not armor piercing. Now, there's some that will be considered legally armor piercing, but we can't buy those here, so I'm kind of skipping some of those out of the equation. I know there's M855A1. Somebody was just talking about another one here. M955AP. There you go. Solon P, you know. Dude, there's some awesome rounds out there that us plebes just aren't allowed to have due to all the federal gun control and regulations and ATF and treaties and all this crazy stuff. So back to what we're talking about. M855 is not armor piercing. Is it going to poke through a barrier? Certain barriers better than a M855 or M193? Certainly. Certainly. I keep getting tongue-tied. Do you guys ever get that with this? Because there's too many fives. M855 green tip, okay, is 62 grains, but it's M855. And then I look down out of the corner of my eyes and see 55 grain here, which makes me want to say M855 again, especially since there's a big M there with the IMI. No, 55 grain is M193. M855 is going to be 62 grain. So there you guys go. I just thought it's kind of funny because I was like, man, why is there going to be so many fives in here? 556, 55 grain, M855. Can't we pick another number besides 5? I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm more of an AK guy. I like it more where it's like 122 grain, 123, 124. At least I don't get so tongue-tied. There aren't AK rounds that are just 5.5 this, 5.5 that. I digress. So shout out to all the AK guys. I don't want you to think I'm forgetting about you guys. This is very, very popular ammo, the M193, as well as the green tip M855. And I think, let me know down in the chat. I seriously want to know this, even if I can't actually read this till afterwards. If you guys had to pick between the two, and then after that, you can go comma, whatever your favorite is. But I just kind of want to know right now, if you had to pick, let's look at the two military offerings that us plebes, us civilians can have legally. M193 55 grain or M855 green tip. What's your favorite out of the two? And then after that, say comma. But my real favorite is actually 77 grain hollow point boat tail or the 40 grain varmint round, the black ballistic tip from Federal American Eagle. I don't know. Maybe it's 223 Wolf and Tula. This is also a really, really big impact, guys, on the ammo supply. Tons of this stuff has been shot. Oh my gosh, I can vouch for tens of thousands of rounds of just 223 Remington. Usually 55 grain, but Tula and Wolf, you know, back and forth depending on the offering, we bring in soft points and hollow points and 75 grain and 62 grain and all kinds of actually really cool offerings have been available from Russia over the years. But I've shot tens of thousands of rounds of this stuff over the years, like literally. Add in 7.62 by 39. Whew. More than I would even want to dare to count. And 99% of it I shot before you had to be wealthy to shoot. Guys, I'm kind of dating myself here, but I remember when 7.62 by 39 would be 10 cents a round all day, every day. And once in a blue moon, Cabela's would have a sale on the Chinese stuff, and it'd be about like 6 point something cents a round. It'd be like 60 something bucks for 1,000 rounds plus tax. Still a hair under $70 for 1,000 rounds. Does anyone remember that? Now that was the really good sale that they would only do like to kind of kick off the spring. Once a year you go in there and they'd have just pallets and pallets of it out there. This was before the Chinese ban in 1994. Now, somebody talked about SS-109. Yes, I do definitely want to mention that. SS-109, look. By proper terms, there's a difference. Only this, really, though. M855 is a U.S. designation for basically the same bullet as the SS-109 penetrator. In fact, many countries in the world, look at Canada to the north. Their troops use the SS-109 bullet, for example. Usually it's not going to be painted green, okay? That's kind of the thing the U.S. does, and some exporters do it just to kind of give it the green tip look for, you know, for U.S. civilian sales. But M855, that's literally United States military designation. So technically SS-109 is different, but that's just based on whether our military would accept it or not, and it's kind of a nomenclature thing. But yes, SS-109. Make sure you guys check out that locals post, by the way. I'm gonna post a good deal on some SS109 over there too. It's not here, Susan. This is another site. This is Susan Wiki for all of you that are new. She runs YouTube, but she's not allowed on my locals community. And we abide by the terms here on YouTube because we literally have to, or else we won't be here anymore. And I love hanging out with you all. But over there, totally separate rules, right? So there's SS109. Just consider that for right now to be the same as M855 green tip for pretty much almost any kind of debate or argument you want to have. Do I have some chats that I need to catch up on, Linda? Because I saw I had some super chats, and I'm super grateful for those, and definitely want to read them before you guys jump offline. And then I'm going to start talking about a couple other types of ammo here that I really like, and some offerings that are not Lake City that you guys might like to know about or want to hear my opinion on. We have the Rios 7018 with the $5 super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. It looks like it was a super sticker, which I use StreamYard, which is awesome, but it doesn't quite let me transfer the stickers over to StreamYard. But thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate the support. I'm trying to have my other screen open up here. Susan's dragging on the YouTube chat here. I'm trying to pull up that super sticker, but I can't pin it anyways. But thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. And I think I had a couple more here. There we go. Angry Fat Boy 1776 with the super chat. Thanks. I appreciate it. Hey, there's some words of encouragement. God bless America, and let's go, Brandon. Now, I want to add here, since we're on YouTube, again, we have to be real careful, right? They said the most popular of all time. Now, just remember that. When you guys go up there and you're filling up your gas tank and you see those I did that stickers pointing to that $4.99, $5.29, $5.99 a gallon, it says I did that and it's him pointing. Well, I guess you shouldn't be surprised that he's the most popular of all time. Literally. Now, according to Time Magazine, which is a NewsGuard certified source, NewsGuard certified, Susan, so I can talk about it here on YouTube. Also, not only the most popular, but the most fortified of all time. The most fortified of all time. Let's go, Brandon. America the Free, thank you for such a generous super chat, for being a channel member, man. Thank you. He says, love you too, EDU. Well, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your generosity. And what more can I say? I'll give you another Let's Go, Brandon. America the Free, right? All right. So, you guys might have noticed there's been a lot of weird stuff going on now that we call it like the flugaloo, right? You know what I'm saying? Some people got sick here and there the last couple years, and people started talking about another word, so we said the flugaloo. Those of you that have been around can explain it to any new people. I've noticed a lot of weird brands of ammo popping up lately. What about you guys? Like this. This is so-called Indian Ordnance. Now, I've posted this on locals. I'm posting all kinds of deals over there, guys, literally. Like, prices on some of this stuff that's actually cheaper than I've seen it since the whole flugaloo started in 2020. This is going to be an M193 for SDI, Inc., Illinois, made in India by Ordnance Factories. So there we go. The Indian Ordnance, M193, 55 grain. So the Indians are apparently making 5.56. All these boxes look like they're going to open easy until they don't. Let me open this up and see what this stuff looks like. This is a 55 grain. I'm looking for a couple characteristics on it. Let's see what we think here. All right. 55 grain FMJ. This is 5.56 ammo. Look, for most purposes, 5.56 and 2.23 can be used completely interchangeably. There might be an instance somewhere where there's a 2.23 that you might be finicky, or maybe you shouldn't shoot 5.56 through it. But let me tell you guys this. You should all do you and do what you're comfortable with. I know for a fact there's been millions of rounds of 5.56 shot through 2.23 chambered guns for decades and decades and decades. Cheap 5.56 milsurp stuff coming in. People shooting their old 2.23 Colt Sporters. Is there a difference between the two? Sure. Slight pressure difference. slight dimensions within the case wall itself. You know what I mean? You guys do you. I'll certainly say this. I would have no problem. Now, if I got stuck cases or something like that that got annoying, sure, I wouldn't want to mess around. But I would have no problem taking a 223 AR and shooting some of this 5.56 through it. But that's just me. And I recommend you guys do you. This head stamp, 5.56 by 45. All right. 21. So that's going to be the year of the head stamp and SDI. We can see our primer here. And we do have a sealed primer pocket, which that's nice. I always like to see that. See that little bit of like reddish purple? Maybe it's hard to see in the light, but in real life, I promise you, it looks like a little like kind of semi-translucent, reddish purple, nail polish looking stuff. A lot of people do use nail polish actually for neck and primer sealant when they're rolling their own. That's good. Helps with a little long-term storage. Can't really see any sealant on the neck, but I would note rather aggressive crimp there. Look at that crimp. Okay, I think we're in there. I'm not sure if Mateo's watching tonight or not. He's my guy I usually talk to as my in-house ammo expert. He's literally not here, but I mean someone I can call on the phone. Let me see if I can get this to focus again. What's happening, Frank Hunt? Happy Father's Day to you, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. That's coming up here in just a little over a day from now. I'm going to try to get this roll crimp one more time, guys. Wow, it's so shiny. Okay, there we go. Can you guys see that? Rather aggressive, actually. That's really biting in there. So, nice crimped round. I definitely posted this to locals. It might be sold out at the moment. This was a very affordable price, though. So, there's an alternative. Look, this is nothing where we're giving them a pass. If Brandon and company and all them are using politics to try to snuff us out of the most popular, well-liked 5.56, please don't take it that way, guys. I'm just trying to kind of look at a little bit of a silver lining here. Doesn't give them a silver lining at all, but for you guys, you know, I want to encourage, and I want us to all have stuff to think about, you know. Jared DeBoer just became a new channel member, so thank you for becoming a member and supporting the channel, and thanks, I appreciate it, man. And thank you to all of you guys that are currently and have been have been supporters for a long time. I really appreciate it. Not so hot in here today. I've got it down to about 77 degrees right now. Got the door open over there. Bugs are coming in, whatnot, but yeah, you know. I was starting off today as a part 2, maybe assuming that people knew, but I'm kind of reading the chat here. If you guys didn't know, I did about a 30-minute stream on it, okay, just 2 days ago. There's not a ban on M855. There's not a ban on 5.56, but what seems very probable at this point, although not technically proven yet, but very probable, it's being reported on by very reliable sources, that the Lake City factory that is ran and managed by Winchester, they signed like a 10-year contract. It was federal before that. It was Remington for like 50 years before that, or something like that, 45 years, whatever. That they've ordered them to stop selling M855 to civilians because they would make it for the Army, which the Army then divvies it off to other branches of the armed services. This is an Army ordnance factory. Lake City, Missouri, right? Owned by the United States Army, ran and managed by Winchester with a perk that they get that they can sell the overrun, the stuff that's not needed to fulfill the military contracts, because trust me, guys, this is a tough pill to swallow, but any of these big ammo companies, they're going to service the U.S. government first. And I said service for a reason. With their ammo and probably many, many other ways, this is a very family-friendly channel. You guys can use your imagination. They're going to service the government first, right? You guys remember that skit? I'm servicing the customer. Right, Mateo? I'm servicing the customer. Okay. Anyways. And law enforcement and Fed boys and 3-letter agencies and everything but an honest person like you. They're always going to service those contracts first. Then if there's anything left, they'll sell it to you. And that's one of the perks Winchester has, is they can sell to civilians. But when you sign the deal with the devil, when you're in with the U.S. government, that's where the big money is. Don't forget, almost every single United States gun maker, supplier, dealer, Weyerhaeuser. You can just go through the whole list. Ammo, they're just in it for the money, 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 money. You guys know they are. There'll be a threat to ban something, and half these companies double the price within hours, and it's like, you know, they didn't pay any more money for it yet. Like, I didn't raise my price for my lawn mowing to my customers till gas actually did double in price, right? I don't say, well, hold on a minute. I heard it's going to double in 6 months, so I'm going to raise the price to cut grass today. Real people don't do that to each other, but big businesses do. Just because they make the gun you like and the ammo you like, don't confuse a lot of people in the firearm industry as being your friends, because a lot of them aren't. Now, there are some phenomenal companies in the firearms industry. Just like with anything in life, there's small people that are bad and small that are good and big that are bad and big that are good, I guess, maybe. But it's usually a lot of the smaller businesses that tend to be better. Some of the big businesses too, though. Don't get me wrong. Seems like a lot of the foreign companies that sell us guns and ammo treat Americans a lot better than our own companies do. There's usually a list a mile long of U.S. companies that are in on this crap. But I'm not saying Winchester's in on this. That was just a rant that they're always going to take care of military contracts first. Then they're allowed, if the government's willing, to sell to consumers after that. In the case with Lake City, in this case with Winchester. And from what I understand, the Army would have the authority to tell them, no, you're not going to sell to civilians anymore. I use the word ban because what other word can you really use for it? But it's not coming from the ATF like last time. This is not an act of Congress like they've threatened before. This is totally different. This is like real weird, like scrounge bag stuff. Look, the government that would shut off our own pipelines and make gas prices double and can't figure out a way to have baby formula. Are you surprised? I mean, at this point, nobody can really be surprised at anything. So there's a real quick version of what's going on. There's my friend Shooting Gallery New England. What's happening, dude? How you doing, man? Hey, Kurt, thanks for supporting the channel, dude. We've got Scott Plagueman. What's happening, man? Yeah, the government has dogs to shoot. Jeez, oh, Pete. They started by shooting his dog at Ruby Ridge. Remember that? Ruby Ridge, Waco. They're going to make sure they have enough ammo for that stuff, is what I was trying to say naturally, before you'd ever be allowed to buy any. Just think about that. Before you be allowed. Do any of you have kids at home? Beautiful wife? For the ladies watching, handsome husband, you know what I'm saying? They'd way, way, way rather have enough ammo for innocent people's dogs than for you to protect your loved ones. That's my opinion, but I don't think you have to really go too much out on a limb to fact check me on that. What's happening, Gort? How you doing, man? You don't have to go too far. How far do you have to go, Big Trev? What's happening, man? Do we have to go out on a limb too much, Trev? Now, Trev looks like a big fella. You know, just with his name, right? I'm a big fella. Me and Trev can't go out on a limb too much, guys. So that's why we're not going to go out too far to come to the conclusion that they care a lot more about committing atrocities against your dog than you ever protecting your own family or your own country. And don't forget, like, here we go. Like Frank Hunt says, don't forget about all the rounds that the post office police buy and the Department of Education and the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic Service and the XYZ LGBTQI service and, I mean, whatever service, by the way. Happy Father's Day. I heard there's another holiday this weekend, but I haven't really heard too much about it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm so busy researching. I haven't really had time to look it up. Am I missing anything this weekend? Somebody said there's a federal holiday this weekend. And I said, don't have time to look it up. Am I missing anything? And my friend said, no, not really. I said, should I look it up? And they're like, yeah. So I don't know. I know there's Father's Day coming up. What's happening, JJ Rainey? How's it going? Hey, what's happening, A-Dubs? How's it going? He says, is 855 effective on York? He's asking for a Phoebe. Yeah, defensively, Susan. He's just wondering because he wants to defend his Yorkie against the ATF, clearly. I don't know. That Yorkie probably be like those skinnies. Those skinnies that they call them. We were ice picking, you know. Brr, 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 brr. They look at him. I mean, those people were hopped up on drugs, too. Everyone likes to think it's going to be the psychological stop, don't they? Everybody thinks it's going to be the psychological stop, but man, you can ask certain police officers that have had to apprehend people that were super hopped up, and then maybe some of you guys that served in some of these conflicts where that was kind of their SOP, where they would give all their people, they'd hop them up on some kind of completely mind-altering drug. I don't even know the names of half of them, but some pretty hardcore stuff, right, Susan Wiki, where the psychological stop wasn't going to cut it. You had to hit vitals and stop the person's bodily function. Speaking of which, I'm going to go back and read that question I asked you guys a while ago. And here's where it's going to kind of come to fruition a little bit. I'm going to have to look this up. Some of you guys are Juneteenth. Okay. I haven't heard of it. I'm going to have to look into that. Somebody said it's a holiday. Yeah. What's happening, Jane Locke? How you doing? Prayer for Babies rally at the Capitol. Then a birthday at Angela and Dave Regas' house. Yes, Angela Regas. I don't know Dave too well. I might if I saw him, actually. Somebody's talking about 243 WSSM. You know, I was just talking to my friend Mateo, channel moderator here. I'm not sure if he's able to make it tonight or not. I'm not going to tell anyone his business, but he appreciates your prayers, guys, he's dealing with some issues. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but I know a lot of people here consider him a good friend. I'll just say that. He's alive and stuff, though, so don't worry about that. He's still an honorary Marine, and he's alive. I'll tell you guys that much. That's all I'm going to say. But we were talking about 243. Now, 243 WSSM, I'm not real familiar with. Sounds like it must be a shrunk-down version. But we were just talking about 243. But we were talking about the full size, right? Like the 308 size. What's this guy saying? Mad to my black followers. Well, I don't know. You want to say mad to the black followers? I'll give a shout out to all the black followers who hang out here. This guy doesn't appear to like them, but I do. Shout out to all the black followers who watch the channel. I don't know who this guy is and why he's got to be. Hey, that's how some people are around here, though. You never know. I don't care what color my followers are, to be honest with you. To me, you're all just people, and you're either a good person or you're not, and it's kind of up to you, really. You are doing pretty good. That's good, Jane. Awesome. Awesome. All right. I think probably earlier when you guys answered me, I might be totally shocked by this, but I bet you a lot of you said you shoot 16-inch barrel or shorter ARs. I just want to talk about this round a little bit. Go over to my locals. I put a post up for this where, look, I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's more than M193 or 855, but what I thought was a pretty good price. This is Cellier and Balat, Cellier and Below, however you pronounce it. I'm an American, so Cellier and Balat, right? This is made in the Czech Republic. And this is going to be, it should be written on here somewhere, this is their 77 grain hollow point boat tail. Now, this has also been sold under other offerings like 77 grain open tip match. I know IMI sold it before. I've got some IMI down here. What is this? Oh, this is 62 grain. I've got some more M855. Not to get too sidetracked. I thought this was 77. I grabbed the wrong one before I came in my shop. This is M855, and you can see it even says SS109. But anyways, 77 grain. Hollow point boat tail, open tip match. Essentially two different words for the same thing. This, in my opinion, of what civilians can buy, we're still sticking within that topic in reality, of what most of you are buying. If you're a Fed boy, which there's probably 5 or 6 Fed boys always watching this channel. I think they like it now, right? You guys like the channel, all the Fed boys. I know some of the YouTube employees, right, Susan, have actually said they've become legit fans of the channel, okay? Yeah. So besides the Feds that always watch this stuff, right? What's happening, Ting Ting? How's it going? Ting Ting, what do you think? Besides, I know she's not, but what do you think about the Feds, Ting Ting, that watch this channel? This might be the best 5.56 for a lot of the purposes you guys desire, to be honest with you. For defense, for shooting living targets. I don't know, whatever type of animals you guys hunt or whatever the reasons would be, to defend against tyranny, for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. In my opinion, you've got two choices when you get down real short on the barrels. Either get a really light round, which is going to keep up its velocity in spite of the shorter barrel because it's already getting out of there so darn fast to begin with, which there's some that would be okay. You know, a bonded 55 grain would be a good choice. Bonded so that it stays together. Or maybe certain 40 grain rounds, but a lot of 40 grain and like anything less than 55 tends to be designed for varmint. Now, if you're varmint hunting, great. Keep in mind, 223 is actually originally a varmint round. The 223 Remington, which precedes the 5.56 military, they used to actually rate that out of a 24-inch barrel, by the way. It was designed for varmint, small game, coyote, raccoon, possum, rat, squirrel, whatever. I'm being serious. It's not a put down. It's just nice to know. The essence of America's most popular rifle round is that it's a varmint round. Now, with that said, if you can find the right design bullet, really, really lightweight, keep it really fast, even out of that short barrel, that 16-inch, that 12.5, 10.5. Once you get below 10.5, guys, there might still be purposes. Don't get me wrong. It's all still lethal. None of it's a toy. There might be purposes for it, but I start to not become quite much of a fan of 5.56 223 at all. Once we really get below 12, now maybe I could go to 10.5, maybe 10. But my 7-inch Marauder, which I do have a 7-inch Marauder upper from PSA, that's just for fun. Actually, I have that to run as a 22, okay, with the CMMG 22. You guys do you. I know I just got at least 2 people mad at me. I don't really, for anything real serious, I don't really recommend, no matter what ammo you use, anything that's like less than 10, and I'm being generous with that. 11.5, 12, you know what I mean? I think some of you guys probably have the same sentiment. So if you can't go really, really light and really, really fast, which again, a lot of the bullets aren't really designed for what you probably want them for, unless you're hunting varmint, right? What's happening, Vito? How you doing, man? What's happening, dude? The 77 grain might be your best choice. It performs very well out of short barrels. Short meaning 16. I know the culture we're in now, nobody here considers 16 inches to be a short barrel, but I'm telling you it actually is, because 20 inches is the standard service duty barrel, right? It literally is, that they developed all this stuff for these military rounds. Now, the current military, yes, they use 14.5-inch M4s. I totally get it. They use some that are even shorter than that. But they're probably not running around with standard M855 as a whole anymore. They've developed different rounds. They're actually going to the 6.8 military round soon. A lot's changing. And there's reasons for that, because guys were complaining that M855 was failing miserably out of their 14.5-inch barrels. It's very well documented. I've never served, guys, but you can read so many things of just regular people talking, people that took a very astute approach that actually did studies on it. Many, many complaints from United States servicemen and all the different branches complaining about M855 out of their 14.5, right? They use this in the military. Maybe not exactly this particular cellular and Balat, but the equivalency of, right? 77 grain, it's going to perform very well out of a short barrel. And while it's going to obviously be getting out of there slower than 55 grain, etc., once you get just a 55 grain or a 62 grain green tip, once you get it slow enough, it doesn't have its characteristics. It doesn't have the ability to veer, to yaw, to tumble, all these different things that makes it like very lethal or stops the threat, whichever you're trying to do. You're trying to stop the threat in most cases, right? This round's a little bit different. It has characteristics where the round itself is actually going to expand and do a couple things. So a hollow point. All right. Don't think, and I'm going to show you this, don't think hollow point though like your 9mm or your 45, where most conventional hollow points, it's going to flower open. And it's going to take it from being, 0.355 in the case of a 9mm, 0.355 inches, up to maybe in some cases up to 3/4 of an inch. So you're increasing the permanent wound cavity of that projectile by it expanding. kind of common sense how that works. And here's some right here. Some Federal HST. None other than, and this stuff's known to bloom out and have the nicest, pretty looking flower shape of almost any hollow point there is. If you guys have shot this and taken it out of gel or taken it out of a water jug, you'll know what I mean. It flowers out real nice and pretty and makes a bigger hole. This is a hollow point, but don't think of it like that. First of all, this small diminutive type hollow point actually helps with the inherent accuracy of the round. You will see other varieties of hollow point boat tails where they put the hollow point in there just for accuracy. But in this case, it's not just that. This is not just for accuracy. This has pretty cool characteristics to it, where when it expands, okay, when it expands by hitting the fluidic medium, it's going to start to open up, but instead of flowering off, portions, shards, if you will, shrapnels are going to come off the outside and veer off, okay, and branch out that way. They're not going to stay connected. They're actually going to disperse away from the core of the projectile. Now, you're starting off with 77 grains. That's pretty darn heavy. Except for a few exceptions, it's really hard to get any heavier than 77 grains in 223 or 556, because if you did, you wouldn't be able to feed it out of magazines. Maybe if you have a bolt action, there's some exceptions, but this is about as heavy as you can get, and generally speaking. So the outer portions are designed to break apart, okay? Somebody just said it's a shattering round. I think that's another good way to word it, okay? But you don't want a round that just breaks apart, and that's the problem with a lot of this gimmicky ammo on the market. Whether it's handgun or rifle, you'll see stuff that does all this crazy, big, huge wound cavity, but it might only penetrate 7 inches, and that's a problem, because if you can't penetrate to the vitals, again, remember those skinnies in Somalia that were all hopped up on who knows what? The psychological stop. You had to stop their bodily functions before they would stop advancing and attacking. This is going to retain at least 50 grains on average, maybe up to even 55 grains. That's going to continue up on through and penetrate. So by the time you're done with part of the projectile shattering or splintering off and creating that more devastating wound cavity here for that penetration that you need to just keep on going through, you're still going to end up with almost as much retained weight, even after about a third of it breaks off, as what you started with if you had a 55 grain. There's a post on Locals. If you could throw the link, or if you guys are already a member, go check it out. If it's not already pinned near the top, I will afterwards. Like I said, I know where there's a pretty good deal on this. I just can't link to it here, guys. It's not like I'm trying to be bogue, but here's the good thing about it. You go over and check that Locals post out. If you did decide to buy anything that you wanted from several different awesome companies there, it does help the channel too, but that's not why I'm talking about this. It would help the channel if you went over there and bought some M855 green tip or whatever. Do any of you guys even know about the 77 grain? And if you do, how many of you are actually using it? I would say with what the United States, what we can get here, because there's so much gun control and legislation, and I'm kind of loath to say this. Because anytime you say the best, somebody argues, and that's fine. I'm not trying to argue, but in my opinion, I'll just say that way. Because the best for what, right? That's always the question. The best for what? Somebody keeps saying M14 308, and that's awesome, man. Somebody here likes their M14. Awesome, Scott. But we're actually not talking about M14 at all. So sometimes we'll talk about like, hey, what's the best 5.56? And someone says 308, and it's like, well, not germane whatsoever to the conversation, but you do you. I would say this is probably the most advanced / best round for what most people want for self-defense, for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I would say most people's ARs that you're buying nowadays have a little bit faster twist rate. That would be good to stabilize a little heavier projectile like this. And if you're really close, who really cares if it stabilizes it at all? But here's where I'm heading with this. 1 in 12. That's a very, very slow twist rate. Think M16 A1 era with the 20-inch barrel. I love the triangle Bakelite plastic type, the Mattel plastic handguards. Love those rifles. They're so cool. Literally love it. I feel like I never have or haven't done enough videos on that gun. So let me know if anyone wants to see that in a video. I have one at home. 55 grain, M193, 20-inch barrel, 1 and 12, nice and slow, right? Is anyone even buying 1 and 12 twist rate, 16-inch barrels and 10.5-inch barrels? By the way, I put a post over on Locals yet again of that PSA Classic. It's a little pistol, right? With the A2 style handguard that's got the carry handle on top. It's got the mag pull brace. It just looks like this classic retro little shorty rig. It's so cool. 11.5-inch barrel. You know what I'm saying? Which is still acceptable barrel length, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? There's a deal for that over on Locals, by the way. Can't promote it here. But I don't think anyone's making barrels like that with a real slow twist rate. They're usually going to be 1 and 7, usually for something like that. Maybe 1 and 8, maybe 1 and 9. I'd have no problem shoot this out of a 1 and 9 if I needed to. You know what I'm saying? 1 and 9 twist rate. 1 and 7, even a little bit faster, right? Meaning it can get that bullet up and spinning in a shorter distance of barrel. Look up that fleet yaw effect. Fleet yaw effect. That has to do with twist rate and barrel lengths and how these different rounds can stabilize and their different characteristics. Now, notice what I said. I said for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yep. I said for large game or creatures that could be encroaching upon you, that could be after your dog. Maybe, for example, there's a bear walking up on its hind legs out of the woods and it's coming after your dog. Well, if it's a literal bear, you know, maybe we can call on our friend, what was his name? Scott, right? He'll come with his M14, you know what I'm saying? But all kinds of other two-legged critter that could be coming after your dog, different things like that. You're trying to defend your homestead against enemies, foreign and domestic. Hunting coyotes. Awesome. Like literally awesome. And I want you guys to know what the 77 grain hollow point boat tail in this case is. Sometimes otherwise referred to as open tip match. Now let's go back to the beginning of the stream because I truly mean this too. And I'm not trying to bring everything full circle. I just wanted to talk about options because there is no one answer. If you're shooting within a couple hundred yards-ish, look, I bet you 99% of what most of us are shooting is within 100 yards. A lot of people shooting at indoor ranges. I know that because a lot of people say you can't shoot M855 at an indoor range. From what I understand, the house rules, most indoor ranges won't allow it for multiple reasons. And no, it's not because it's so killy that it'll go through all their backstop and halfway around the world. There's actually other reasons besides that, maybe including it could damage their backstop. All right. So a lot of people shoot inside at an indoor range, and very rarely are you going to have over 100-yard indoor range. That would be like crazy. If you do, let us know because that'd be nuts. It's usually has to do with, they say it can make like a spark down range, which is the reason why they won't let you use steel jacketed. And there's tons of unburnt powder that lays down there at the other end of the range. Could create a fire and explosion. Okay. If you're shooting outside, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to use M855 unless you're shooting steel targets at close range, but you shouldn't be shooting any 223, 556 at any steel target. Well, asterisks. No, I want everyone to be safe. For safety reasons, don't shoot any 223, 556 at any type of steel target. If it's AR 500, you're going to damage it. If it's AR 700, higher than that, you might not damage the steel, but you could damage yourself. You could have jacket shrapnel come back. Now, there might be a scenario, and I think I have some somewhere where you have 223 frangible, that powdered plastic that's impregnated with copper dust. That's moving the goalpost. But for most purposes, don't shoot any of this at steel up close. You'll ruin your steel, hurt yourself, whatever. You might not have a good day. But if you're just shooting at paper or shooting at steel long range or shooting at water jugs, bowling pins, clots of dirt out in the field, do you guys know how many times I've gone to shoot before and kind of did it on a whim and didn't even have a target with me? So you kind of look and you're like, all right, there's that one particular clod of dirt. You shoot at the clod of dirt. It's still marksmanship, actually. If you can hit that clod of dirt, what's the difference between hitting that or anything else the size of a fist, if you know what I mean? I'm not going to take my 77 grain hollow point boat tail if I'm just going out there to blast a bunch of rounds or just have a bunch of fun, just smelling the gunpowder and letting the good times roll type of day. No, I'm going to be out there shooting this. Are you kidding me? 223. This is good stuff, by the way. I like wolf ammo. Now, an argument could be made, though, if this is your life, liberty, and the pursuit of, or your home defense or self-defense, just like these pistols, I've talked about it a million times in my tourist videos. If I'm using this at my G3C for self-defense, you better go out and shoot it before you rely on it. You have to do it. You have to do it. Same thing. If this is something that your life could be on the line, you have to take it out and shoot some of it. How much you need to shoot, that's up to you. But at least some. Okay. But after you're to the point where you're not training for accuracy at that moment, you've already proven that your go-to gun, maybe this is just your fun little retro PSA pistol, like I was talking about that I put a post up on Locals about. You just want to go out there and just blast and let it ring, let it rain, whatever. I mean, if you got the money, you could, but no, this isn't going to do any better at shooting that cloud of dirt than, I don't know, this 193 or M855 green tip right here. I'm going to be able to buy a new house with this eventually. No, I'm going to shoot it. Actually, a good friend donated this to the channel, and I would never sell it because when people send me stuff, it's going to be part of video content. I mean, I'm using it for video content right now, literally, but no, I would never. A good friend of mine, I don't want to call him just a mere viewer, but a good friend of mine that lives around here gave me that for the channel. And when I get a little more caught up on work because I'm getting close, we're going to run a bunch of that downrange. I would never sell anything that someone said, hey, man, this is for the viewers, for the channel to make some videos. So I was joking. You could probably buy a house with that someday if you had it, but I can't do that. All right. You guys get the point, though, right? Depends what you're doing and stuff. M855 may be the best for you. It might not be. I think for a lot of the reasons people are buying M855, the 77 grain hollow point boat tail is probably actually better for a lot of what people want to buy it for. Here's some good stuff right here. AAC. They've got the 5.56 55 grain FMJ. Dude, I'll tell you what, I've liked all their ammo I've shot. Their 9mm pistol ammo, spot on. I need to do a little more work with this before I can give it a complete review, but I was able to shoot some of this. I spent some time down in South Carolina a couple months back. Man, time flies. That was almost, man, that was 3 months ago now. Wow. Made in the USA, Columbia, South Carolina. They're giving a publish. See, I told you guys about 3,200 foot per second. See, I just round when I'm talking about. I mean, this is just kind of a generic conversational type video. 3175. See what I'm saying there? So give or take within rounding a couple hundred foot per second faster than green tip, barrels being equal. Yes, 77 grain is definitely more expensive. I definitely said that earlier for sure. People are going to have so many theories on this stuff. So many theories. I bet you M193 would do 3,700 out of a 32-inch barrel and stuff. Oh, you got to love it. I think most of you guys are taking what I'm talking about in context, though, right? I'm just trying to talk in generalities because I know for a fact there's somebody out there with a 24-inch barrel there. But I just know this. When I said, I bet you most of you have a 16-inch AR, right? I know there's a couple hundred people that nodded their heads and said, yep, actually I do. Well, of course you do. Look at what's sold out there. 10.5, 12-inch pistol. Yeah. Another 100 people just nodded their heads, right? I know what's going on. Now, but hold on, 2A EDU. This video is not complete till I let you know that out of a 37-inch barrel. All right, this is what people do a lot. I don't see anyone doing this tonight. You said the 55 grain M193 is going to be faster than the 77 grain hollow point boat tail. I'm like, well, yeah, it is and stuff. Nope, gotcha. This 77 grain out of a 32-inch barrel is faster than this M193 out of a 7-inch barrel at 500 yards, and I guarantee it. And I'm like, oh, really? Wow. And that pig that just flew by is actually probably even going faster than that and stuff. Oh boy. I'll try to get away from talking about calibers and stuff like that to a point, right? To a point. But I wanted to talk about it tonight because, please, if you guys have your favorites, if you guys have opinions that are different than mine, actually have an active discussion about it. Or even if you're just shaking your head at some of the stuff I've said, awesome. Hopefully we can still be friends though, right? Like we don't have to agree on, like, I'll buy what ammo I want and you'll buy what you want. But I thought this would be a good conversation because there's a lot of new gun owners in the last 2 years. And then there's a lot of other people that aren't necessarily completely new gun owners, but people that own guns for 40, 50 years and just now bought their first modern sporting rifle. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's a lot of people like that. I've talked to people that are like, man, I'm considering getting my first AR-15 type. All right, cool. You new to guns? And they'll say, no, actually. I've had people even say stuff like, no, I served in the military years ago and I did this and that. And I've been hunting for 37 years and just kind of thought maybe they could see the writing on the wall that it might be about time. You know what I'm saying? They might be worried they have to defend against enemies, foreign and domestic. So I know there's a lot of new people. You know what I'm saying? Jay Gallego GT Noob 2 a.m. with the super chat, $10. Thank you. I appreciate it. Says recent new sub. Your channel has been very educational on firearms. Well, thank you. I try to help with that kind of stuff. Says waiting for Maryland process. I think that's what you're talking about. Waiting for MD process, but new gun owner in the making. Thanks for your Taurus vids. Well, no problem. And if you're going to become an AR person, then maybe what I said, I'll get you off on just some general advice of what type of ammo you might want for what, depending on things. Depending on your twist rate of your barrel, your length of your barrel, all that kind of stuff. M855 green tip's not going to be the best ammo for every situation, though. I will say that. But again, that's not giving them a pass. If they're banning it from civilian sales for any type of nefarious reasons whatsoever, I don't care if it was the worst round ever. No, that's still completely unacceptable. People need to decide what's best for them, right? Well, that's literally what the Declaration of Independence says, that we would have a government that we would see as fit, right? To protect our life, our liberty. A lot different than what's going on right now. AAC, good stuff. Like it a lot. Here is some of the Speak of the Devil right here. Here's some 5.56 by 45. I know where there's a good deal on this that I can't share here. I'll post this to locals afterwards as well. Yes, shall not be infringed. Exactly. They're saying 62 grains at about 3,020 foot per second. Be careful with this. This is some advice I want to give all of you guys. You can see the same exact loading, identical, by 3 companies, and they'll have different foot per second. That's because there is no like law or rule that they have to follow. It's not like that. One company could choose to rate it out of a 20-inch barrel, while another one's doing it out of a 24-inch barrel to make theirs look faster than the competition. It's true. Now, you could kind of argue, and I have too, it kind of becomes a little misleading and maybe a little bit of unethical marketing. Give you an example. This stuff right here, I don't want to reach because it's a little bit close. For Susan Wiki, we'll reach for Lamy. See? The official security, and shout out to Lamy for the channel. Lamy's been a great mascot for this channel a long time. But right above Lamy, in the area where I can't really reach on YouTube, I would reach for it if it was in a locals live stream, though, so don't forget that. We've got some 9mm by Norma, and they rate it really, really fast. So think 9mm for a minute. All the Taurus fans out there, shout out to all you guys. 4-inch G3, okay. 4-inch G3 XL, 3.2-inch G2C, G2S, G3C, G3X. Now, maybe we'd rate it out of 4 inches. That seems to be one of the most common barrel lengths. Maybe 4.5, maybe 5. Are you guys still with me? 5 inches for a 9, maybe? 17 inches. They have this astronomical foot per second on their 9mm, and then you're looking at it and you're like, well, there's no way, because it's not even plus P and stuff, and it's like, This ammo's going like plus P plus speeds, but it's not even listed as plus P. It's like, no, this is impossible. And I was like, dude, did you see the normal whatever? Because it's the fastest ammo there is. It's like 300 foot per second faster than anything. And I'm like, you know what? I've been around this a long time. Not an ammo expert. I'm really not. But I've been around this a long time. I'm like, something's up. Yeah. The published velocity for 9mm, 124 grain, FMJ, standard pressure, asterisk, out of a 17-inch barrel. You guys can decide if you think that's cool or not. Okay. Remember that with all of this stuff. You might see different foot per second. In this case, because this is 55 grain, all right, 3175, okay. 62 grain here, SS 109. 3020, that might be out of a 20-inch barrel. So maybe on this offering, they are rating it out of a more proper size barrel. But not always. You always got to look at that asterisk. Officer 47 said, look at the asterisk. Well, you really do need to. I just want to help you guys with that. Now, does that mean you shouldn't buy that 124 grain normal? No, buy it all you want. Use it for whatever you want. But just remember, it's just FMJ plinking ammo at the end of the day. Way better than a sharp stick if that's all you can afford. If you have to use it for self-defense, you do you. Just don't bet on it going, what was it, 1,600 foot per second or whatever it was, supposedly 15-something foot per second out of your G2C. It ain't going to happen. They were rating it out of a 17-inch. This comes on plastic strippers. And you can see here, there's no green tip. So this is the perfect example of what probably a lot of you have been saying in the chat throughout the night. This is basically M855 green tip minus the green. So we can't really call it green tip. And minus the M855 because it's not a U.S. designation. So we'll just call it SS 109. Now, there could be variables because Lake City could do a better job with the components than normal. It's possible, or vice versa. So there's going to be a variable, meaning maybe this ammo is a little better than this ammo, or this is better than this. Take your pick. But besides those variables, this is the same stuff. Let's keep that in mind. 62 grain SS 109 penetrator. It's the same stuff. Besides any manufacturer's variables. There's always variables between manufacturers. That's why we have our favorite stuff. Some people say, well, I'm a PMC guy just because you like it. I'm telling you guys what. I think this is sold out, but I tried to help as many of you as I could. Whatever powder they're using in this. Woo! This is some sweet stuff. Talking about someone that had a magic recipe. This is the veteran ammo. Really not what I'm talking about right now, but I just saw it sitting over there. I posted this stuff literally till my fingers hurt on locals trying to help a few of you discover this. Sometimes there's a company that just puts together, man. It's like, whew. I'm not talking like on the levels of like grandma's banana bread or mom's chocolate chip cookies or, you know, or your grandmother or great aunt's meatloaf. Like, no, those recipes, but no, with ammo recipes though. Some of these people just get the recipe just right, and you just find that ammo that kind of hits the sweet spot for you. You know what I'm saying? That you just really love to shoot. Speaking of which, I am going to answer a couple more chats here, and then I'm going to talk about a couple offerings in 9mm that have kind of hit the country. So I think we talked a decent amount about 5.56 tonight. Mike McClune with the $10 super sticker. Thanks, man, and for being a channel member and supporter in many other places. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you. And I'm going to try to open up the side chat. I'm going to bet you it's one of the tactical hippos. You know what I'm saying? I've talked a lot about ammo tonight. Wow. You know what always happens, too? Someone's going to come in the chat. Now, they don't really mean it. They've just had a bad day, or maybe they weren't dealt a decent hand of cards in life. I don't know. I can't help people with all of their issues, but would this guy get to the point? He talked for 2 hours and never got to the point. He never said whether 5.56 ammo is banned or not. It's like, this is a live stream. We have fun, and a lot of people listen to it as a podcast, and I welcome all the people who watch this on replay, but this isn't like a 30-second drive-by like news blurb. I'm just talking about the topic at hand, trying to give you guys a little bit of maybe alternative knowledge on some stuff and some suggestions, right? And there we go. Ooh, wrecked, it says. Ooh, that tactical hippo was sitting there in the, I'm looking at Mike McClune's sticker. I think that was a 77 grain hollow point boat tail. Is that what that was? What do you guys think? Look at that super sticker Mike McClune left. Wow. What do you think? Marksman TV's in the house. What's happening, dude? How's it going, man? I want to get a hold of you sometime this weekend or early next weekend and stuff because I want to make plans. So I'm working a ton this weekend. Let me know when you're available, though. I want to talk just for a few minutes and make some plans. Maybe some of you guys would look forward to me and Chris from Marksman Shooting Sports, Marksman TV doing a video together. We're trying to make plans. I'll just leave it at that. Top secret clandestine plans that we can't. Well, I need to make the plans with him first, then I'll let you guys know about it. That's what I meant. They're not really that clandestine. Yeah, the Rios, watch out. You're going to blow your lungs out. Ooh. Ooh. Remember that? They're going to shoot your eye out. Can you guys see that Red Ryder box way back there? It's so far back, Susan. This camera's an optical illusion. It's as far away as your chances are with me, Susan. That's how far away. Remember that? You'll shoot your eye out. Now the thing is, someone, you give someone a box of 9mm ammo. It's like, be careful, kid. You're gonna blow your lungs out. Look, none of this stuff's a toy, but give me a break. Come on, man. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize Schubert and national pressure. Let's go, Brandon. What's happening, Vito? Thanks for the super chat and being a channel member. I appreciate the support. It says, hi, 2A. My Taurus G3 Toro chokes on steel case. It's frustrating. Any thoughts? Well, here's my thought. Yes, that is obviously frustrating if anything chokes on any type of ammo. I have not had that problem, dude. I have shot so much steel case through my Taurus. It's been good to go. Now, I have some advice for you, but let me think of the way to word this. See, there's an interesting relationship with a consumer company relationship. You buy their product, they offer a lifetime warranty. They offer that warranty in good faith that you'll let them know if you have problems. So the official answer is, since it has a lifetime warranty, you should contact them. And I've actually found their customer service to be really good now that it's in Bainbridge, Georgia. Much better than what it was in Miami. But you probably just left me the super chat to help the channel. I get it. And you're like, dude, come on, man. I wanted to help the channel, but that's not a good answer to the question. But I have to say that. That's like the answer, okay? Get a hold of the company because they gave you a lifetime warranty with the product. Check your magazines. Gort just said it right as I was getting ready to say it. Magazines are always the first and foremost thing to check. Check your magazines. See if it does it through all those magazines. If you have G3, okay, so you got a couple mags with the gun at least. Does it do it out of both mags or just one? And then also, does other ammo fiend find out of the mags? Hopefully this helps all of you. This is good advice for every gun there is. Check the mags first. The next thing is something called polishing the feed ramp. If you know what I'm talking about, it might be something you want to try. Official advice is don't do that because it's altering your gun and it could void your warranty, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. Now you see the conundrum, my man. Polishing the feed ramp has been known to solve this issue many, many times, okay? It's just, I want to give you guys good advice, and yes, I'm friends with some people at Taurus. I have a great relationship with Taurus, but I'm not really trying to be their watchdog right now. I'm just trying to be fair to both parties, okay? I would hate to see you polish your feed ramp because I told you to, and then it made it worse, and you got a hold of Taurus, and they're like, dude, you polished your feed ramp. And now we won't out of the warranty claim. So I'm actually more worried about you, Vito. But with all that said, polishing the feed ramp has been known to fix that problem in many, many cases, assuming you know how to do it right. And you can take Joe Biden's advice all you want. People get real bold and they get brazen in here. I try to be fair, though, because here's what I've realized. A lot of people look to me for advice, and they take what I say very seriously, and I'm humbled by that. And that's because I do try to give good advice. I don't just sit there and act like a blowhard in the comment, pounding on people. Look, polishing the feed ramp is something that's really been known to help with a lot of these issues, swapping hands. But I think I'm doing you all a favor just to remind you, anything that you get from a factory and they offer you a warranty, it is technically due diligence to call them first and give them a chance to honor that. Does anybody disagree with me on that? And I know there's some people that disagree, but you're kind of like, here's my thing. Do whatever you want. It's your own money, but you got a lot of nerve. And not you, Vito. I'm just saying all the people that are real headstrong about this stuff. Do whatever you want. It's your money. It's your product. Okay? Now, you'd have a lot of nerve and be kind of a scoundrel, in my opinion, if somebody ever modified their gun first and then actually had the nerve to call the company and ask them to fix it for them for free. That's called you reap what you sow. So there's so many people that watch this channel on so many different levels of mechanical ability, gun experience, polishing experience. I mean, I know people literally in life, and I'm not making fun of them. Some of them are awesome people. Some people okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know this lady, but she seemed very polite. I was in there exchanging out the cores for my calipers, for my F Super Duty, right? For my Super Duty truck. So clearly I know how to change out my own brake calipers. Not that that's anything to brag about, but I had switched them out. I went in there and she comes in and says, do you guys offer installation service of the windshield wipers? And the guy's like, sure, if you need help, I'll go out and put them on for you. This lady didn't know how to install windshield wipers on her car. She just didn't know how. Now, she might be 10 times smarter than me at something else, and I'm sure she is, or not. Who knows? There's people out here watching right now that if I told them to polish their barrel, they would cut half of the ramp off, and they would end up the feed ramp off, and they would end up boring it out to where it would take a 50 AE and stuff. Then they could get hurt, and that would be terrible. Or they could screw their gun up beyond repair and say, Taurus, I demand you honor your warranty, and then that ruins it for the rest of us because you sit there and a million people just abuse a warranty and then makes the price of the guns go up. Again, I've been done talking about you a long time ago, Vito. This has nothing to do with you. I'm just seeing some people kind of, chiming in and saying that just do it. Well, that's great advice. And I have a very high opinion of Vito being a very nice guy. I don't know your ability with that kind of stuff, Vito. Do I? Have you ever told me? I don't know. And I'm actually going on about this for a reason, because I think this will help a lot of you. A lot of YouTubers that do videos, they assume that everybody's like on a certain level or higher, or they assume. We really can't assume things in life. There's a lot of people out there that said 9mm, and then we're out buying, they bought a 9mm, okay? In some cases, it was like the Taurus G2C, G3C. And that ammo was really hard to get for a while, and they ran out and bought 9mm Makarov. Okay? Now, unluckily for them, that wasn't going to work, but I guess the silver lining is luckily from them, with it having a 359 projectile instead of a 355 projectile, it's just so grossly larger than an American. Well, it's actually a German, but what's most commonly used in America, and we'll say the NATO 9mm. It's not an American round. It's a German round, but most Americans know it, though, as the 9mm, and it's the only 9mm they've ever even heard of. And luckily, they couldn't even get it to chamber. Some rounds you can chamber the wrong round and make it kaboom. They literally didn't even know. So what if somebody was having... Now, this isn't Vito. Again, I've been done talking about Vito for a long time ago, okay? It's just this has gotten me onto a topic that I often just see people in comment sections on other videos, even a lot of other YouTubers that do videos, they just assume that everybody's starting at a baseline of like 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, but it's just not always true. Now, what if that person came in? Now, I know Vito knows a lot more than this. One more time. This is just general, guys. What if somebody came into this stream tonight and they said, I can't chamber my 9mm ammo on my G2C. And everyone said, polish your barrel, feed ramp. And really their problem was they were trying to chamber 9mm Makarov in it and stuff. The nice thing about when they call Taurus customer service, what they would do is say, okay, what ammunition are you using in the firearm? And if the person just says 9 mil, they'll say, okay, could you tell me, could you get the box of ammo in front of me? Could you tell me the brand? Maybe the UPC? They'll ask for more info. And that's where like a Taurus customer service rep or a PSA or Glock or Smith & Wesson customer service rep, they'll be able to sort it out when they do have people calling them saying, this gun's junk, I need new mags. Well, hold on, let's have a conversation first. 5 minutes later, they realized they were trying to chamber 9mm Makarov in their Glock 19. Now, everyone on the internet told them get new mags and polish your feed ramp, but that was never going to help them because they knew so little to begin with, right? So that's why when I talk about some of this stuff, it's not just me giving some kind of like evasive answer. No, it's actually because I've learned there's so many different people with so many different circumstances. There is no just one answer. And many times, if you have a gun that's either new and it's still under warranty, you should probably call the manufacturer first. And if it has a lifetime warranty, you should probably call the manufacturer first. And there's many, many reasons for that. Now, the cool thing about Taurus is you can get separate barrels for pretty cheap, but hey man, with the price of gas, I mean, what's the definition of cheap? $60. It's a lot more now than what it was before. A lot of things are a lot more. I actually kind of said that backwards. $60 is less now than it was before. I was just thinking of gas prices in my head. I'm like, man, $6.29 for diesel per gallon. Whew. Wow. No, Vito, I've been done picking on you a long time ago. This was just a good time to bring this up because I've always wanted to I don't know, I've always just thought about this, but I think it's the first time I've truly talked about it publicly. People get in fierce debates a lot in comment sections and whatnot and in live streams, and it's like, well, maybe the answer is C. Just call Taurus up. Now, if they suck and they don't answer your call or something, then come back and rant about them, and we'll maybe see if we can put some pressure on them. But I've called Taurus a couple times. They answered the phone, talked to me about what my issues were. Marksman TV, I agree with you. That's a major problem, especially with 9mm. Especially with 9mm. Not with 40 so much, though. Maybe it's possible. Is it possible to limp wrist to 40? I don't know. But with 9mm, yeah. Harry Grimley says, smash the thumbs up, people. Show your love. Well, thanks, man. And that is a way you guys can help support. It's called the algorithm. Also, make sure you guys check out my locals. I'm serious. I'm going to be over there streaming tomorrow night. I know it's Brass 223 for like $9.18 a box. And if you guys try this out, I think Linda has a link. This is a locals post again, Susan. I'm not going to link directly to the sites that sell this stuff. I can't do it. Susan Wiki. I did a video on locals, and I just put a recent post up. This DRZ. It's kind of an interesting offering from Turkey. This is more of a budget made by ZSR, which happens to budget 9mm, 115 grain, which also happens to be the same people that make this SARS Lamaze, which I think is currently sold out, but I've talked about this before too. I just made a post over on locals tonight with this. I did a video. You guys can scroll through the feed. One of the perks, just so you know, all the local supporters, one of the perks that locals gives you, this isn't up to me, it's just something they do to give supporters. Don't forget, if you're on your phone app, hit that little play button on the bottom of locals. Or if you're on the computer, hit the little play button. And it shows you all my videos. So locals is kind of a combination of the layouts, kind of like half Facebook-ish and half YouTube-ish. But I don't really want to call it either because both of those like censor lots of different types of speech. And also have many, many, many anti-gun policies. And they don't have that on locals at all. One more thing before I show a couple types of ammo and get off of here. Keep pressuring those 10 senators. I'm serious. Here's the list of them right here. And I'm going to talk about the fact that government has no rights on the next stream because I got into talking about ammo so much, but we'll talk about that. Okay, contact these senators. The fact that enough of you guys have contacted them and still are, rumor has it things might be starting to break down a little bit. Don't sit back and say we already won, but don't get so black-pilled and say we lost either. Okay? This is still right now in the fray. Okay? Hindsight's going to be 2020 on what happens, but you guys have all been calling, contacting, writing, tweeting, carrier pigeons. Somebody said they threw a bottle out in the ocean and it's about to hit the shore of Martha's Vineyard because that's where all these elites live. Hey, do what you got to do. Okay? If you have a white horse, get on that white horse and ride right up to their front door, whatever. These are the senators you need to get a hold of and say no compromise, no red flag. Look, there is no due process with red flag. It's called take the guns first. Yeah, there is no then due process. It's gone. A right delayed is a right denied, and yet literally the epitome of due process is it has to occur before they can take any property. Literally. Guys, right here. Let me find it here. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Okay, that probably doesn't apply to most of you. Nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Now, this is the part right here, all of this, but listen to this and tell them this. Tell all these senators this. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. They can't take without them taking and then giving. No, that's a conundrum. There's no such thing as a good red flag law or a somewhat acceptable red flag law. Look, Cornyn's the one you need to hit the hardest. Here they are. Cornyn of Texas. These are the Republicans. Tom Tillis, North Carolina. Roy Blunt, Missouri. Richard Burr, North Carolina. Bill Cassidy, Louisiana. Susan Collins, Maine. Lindsey Graham, South Carolina. Rob Portman of Ohio. Mitt Romney of Utah. Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. The next two are Democrats. Reach out to them. They're kind of known-ish to be in the middle, even though they're really not. But Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. Also, although they're not on the list as part of the official compromise, both senators from Florida, as of right now, support this. Scott of Florida and the senior senator of Florida, Marco Rubio. Doesn't matter if you live in the state, contact all of these people. It's starting to fracture a little bit. We haven't won anything yet, but we haven't lost either. What more can I say? Trying to give you guys some encouragement. Get a hold of them. However you can. Many different methods. Like I said, tweet, Instagram, whatever. I tweeted Cornyn a couple times. Lost some people. They said, I can't follow you anymore. You weren't polite enough. I wasn't polite enough to Senator Cornyn. Look, guys, you're not going to comply your way out of tyranny. The colonists at first asked rather politely for the king to reconsider his 2% tax. Just think about that. The greatest experiment on self-governance that the world's probably ever known started over a 2% tax. Most of you are taxed over 50%, even 60% by the time you add all of them up. They asked him pretty politely at first. We've been asking politely a long time too, haven't we? Then they weren't quite so polite after a little while. Then they made some demands. Then there was Lexington and Concord Bridge, 1775. Then about a year later, there was the Declaration of Independence, where they literally acknowledged, didn't grant, but acknowledged that all men are created equal. And they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's where this experiment that a government would only exist literally to protect your natural rights, your God-given rights. These are the laws of nature and of nature's God. That's what the founding fathers acknowledged. That the government would only literally be allowed to exist at the consent of the governed. And that's you. And I encourage you all, within the limits of the First Amendment, you can't call for direct threats of violence or life. I encourage you not to do that on this public forum. I encourage you not to do that. But you can be as polite or as not polite as you want. Because literally, you have the First Amendment when it comes to talk to these people. You know what the First Amendment says? It doesn't say you can act like a jerk in your buddy's house. Because if he does, he can just kick you out of his living room. If you want to be a troll in this stream, you're going to get kicked out. Literally. With rights comes the chance that somebody's going to say, well, you know what? You do you, but get away from me. But when it comes to the government, this is very important. These are the rights that were endowed by your creator that Congress did not give you, because Congress has no rights and government has no rights. You have rights. And Congress has some powers and authorities that were delegated by the people. When it comes to being able to write your senator, your congressman, the president of the United States, and in this case, the former vice president of the United States, the former vice president, we call him. It's pretty simple. Amendment number 1, they put the Second Amendment second. Not for if, but for when they weren't going to follow the rest. They knew what they were doing with this. But Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. You're not, because government said you're allowed to. This prohibits. Your creator allows you to talk to your government. And the First Amendment prohibits, says Congress shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise of religion or abridging freedom of speech. It's right there. That's why you're allowed to. Not because the government said so, because the government's forbidden from stopping you to talk to these senators. Or of the press, or of the right, or of the people peaceably to assemble. The right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievance. Now, I thought that was pretty easy to understand. But I guess it goes back to what I've said before. A lot of people in the gun community, they just like guns, but it's kind of weird that they just like guns, but they don't like actual freedom. Which I guess is possible. You know, I mean, Stalin liked guns, and so did Mussolini, and the former vice president brags that he has a 12 gauge and a 20 gauge and says he likes certain guns too, right? That's what he said. He said, I have a 12 gauge and a 20 gauge and stuff, and fire 2 blasts off your front porch. But then some people will come in and they'll say, well, of the gun community, we need to kind of not really raise too much of a fuss with these fellers. Excuse me? Excuse me? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. That's the why. The Second Amendment is so beautiful because it literally tells you why. You don't have to guess like, oh, well, let's see here. What would happen if I didn't have a... Do you want to know what happens when you don't have a well-regulated militia? Just look at yourself. Look around right now. Look at the prices of food. Look at the food shortages. Look at the prices of gas. Yeah, literally. When the people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And this well-regulated militia was supposed to be more powerful than any standing army. You know, they gave the founding fathers, gave the government the power to raise an army and a navy. That's it, actually. Did you guys know that? And that there would be a people's militia that would be more powerful than that. And that's why a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Necessary. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And it's perfectly acceptable to say, Cornyn, you're a traitor. Do you not understand the words of shall not be infringed? Or do you actually completely understand them and you're still undermining them? Do you hate the Constitution, Senator Cornyn? Do you hate the American people, Senator Cornyn? That's perfectly fine if you want to do that or not. Or you can actually just do nothing at all. Because, see, that's the other thing about America. You have the right to do nothing at all. But you're also going to reap what you sow. You can go out there in the hard ground and throw some seeds on top of it and never cultivate it and never water it, never tend to it, and guess what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with 100% of what you deserve, which is nothing at all. So for those out there, I won't argue for 1 minute when somebody says, I have the right to not petition my government for redress of grievance. I have the right not to talk to these public servants. I won't argue with them for a second. Of course you don't have to. But you really don't have the right to complain either, do you? If you didn't do anything about it. So if you didn't fight against it, you're complacent. You're what they refer to as the silent majority when they say, well, there must be. Since there's only been 1,000 people that have called up and complained, this is how these people think. There must be another million that agree with me. So here's what you can do. You can call these senators and say, no, shall not be infringed, shall not be reelected, shall be primaried. Look, there's all kinds of perfectly legal, kind ways that you can threaten them with their job. You can do that, and you can try your hardest. And if we win, you can take credit for that victory. If we lose, you can step aside and say, don't blame me, I tried. Or you can actually call them, another option, and you can say, I support every bit of this gun control. And you have the right to do that too. Now, here's the harsh part. And some of you may or may not agree with me on this, but I'm going to say it because I mean it. Or you can not do anything at all, and you're actually going to be exactly the same as the person that called to support it, actually. Because when these 10 senators are saying, well, we think the American people want all this. If you call them up and say you want red flag laws and gun control, they're going to believe you want it. If you say nothing at all, they're going to believe that you want it. The only way they're going to know you oppose it is if you tell them you oppose it. So there you go. If you oppose all of this stuff, which I did a whole stream based on just this topic, you have to let them know. It's unfortunate it has to be this way, and someone will probably get mad at me for trying to draw such a line in the sand on it, but hey, I didn't do any of this. If I was in one of these positions, I'm the last person you'd have to worry about. I'd say you do you. But here's the thing. I would never get to one of these positions because you have to be pretty well corrupt to even get there. I know. And I get it. Somebody's typing right now as fast as they can, but when you get a hold of these senators, they don't even care and they don't even listen. Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. But even if it is, okay, you can at least come into this chat next week and hold your head high and say, I tried. And that does mean something. It really does. It means you fought the good fight. And whether you win or lose, at least you were part of the solution, not the problem. Maybe you have children that when they can't enjoy the free exercise of rights like you were able to, you can say, Daddy tried, Mama tried, Grandpa tried, whatever. I mean, you wouldn't look at your son or grandson or daughter and lie to them, would you? So you would certainly want to help fight for their liberties so you can tell them the truth that you at least tried. So there's many reasons to fight the good fight. Whether you think John Cornyn cares about you or not, look, we got to do something. And I want to offer you guys just a little encouragement before I stroll on out of here, because I hear that there's starting to be a little bit of grumblings out there. I haven't heard from anybody that we've got this like thrown out or rejected yet, this Senate compromise. But I've heard it's not quite so ironclad as it was just a few days ago. There might be one of these two people that wants to keep their job. Maybe a couple of these people want to keep that power. You know what I mean? So do what you guys can. If you go to GOA, they make it very easy, but I'll tell you what, go on there and kind of alter it a little bit. Use it as a platform, but here's the problem. Most of the government's doing this now. The ATF's doing it. Most of the senatorial and representatives' offices are. If they get 20 letters that are exactly the same, they count it as one. If they get 20,000 that are identical, they count it as one. I'd try to change half of it if you're using the GOA form letter, so it actually gets counted as its own little check mark next to the box, right? You know what I'm saying? So I want to offer you guys some encouragement with that. I don't know what's going to happen with M855 green tip for sure. I have my guesses. It's being widely reported on. I hope I offered you guys quite a bit of info tonight. where you can at least look up some of this stuff if you want to know more or think about what ammo might be right for you. I also got into some other topics talking about some 9mm and whatnot. And if anyone didn't already know it, told you guys about my locals community. Links down there in the description of this video, where I'll be streaming again tomorrow night. And I had a really good time hanging out with you all. We complain a little, which is fun. You got to complain a little bit. I mean, I guess it's not fun to complain, but you know what I mean? It's just, you have to complain a little bit. And at the end there, I'm just trying to offer encouragement for you, you know? I saw people at the corner of my eye getting mad at me for all kinds of reasons tonight, and even when I said that a few minutes ago, but hey, I'm not saying I'm the arbiter of truth. I'm not the arbiter of you, that's for sure. You do what you do. But if this passes the Senate, everyone who said don't call your senator, I'm not going to call your senator, I'm going to actually consider you part of the problem. And that's just a friendly challenge. That's a motivation for all of you. Now, does my opinion of what I think of you matter? Maybe not, and it shouldn't. But, you know, I'll word it another way. Don't come to me for any refugee if you refuse to help solve this peacefully. If it ever gets worse, 60% of the people think something unthinkable is happening. If you wouldn't try to fight it now, don't even think about pretending that you know me. Like, really, like when you're up against the wall and I have enough ammo that I can share with 100 people, ain't going to be you if you wouldn't even lift up the phone even once. And I encourage you all to think for yourselves, or think exactly the way I do on that topic. It's a time for choosing right now. And I'm hoping we can peacefully resolve this stuff and stop all of this in the United States Senate as we speak. And I hear that it's cracking just a little bit. I'll just word it that way. I've been hearing it from several sources. So hopefully that offers you guys enough encouragement to keep it up. They're out of session in just a very short amount of time, guys. So I really am trying to offer you encouragement. Officer 47 with the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Says, if we lose freedom here, there is no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And that's a quote from Reagan. I do agree with that quote. I don't agree with everything Reagan did, but yes, I do agree with that. You know, maybe I should put it as a locals post or talk about it in my local stream. Maybe a little YouTube video, something. There was somebody from Australia, actually, that left me a nice long comment. I mean, it was like a paragraph. And they talked about something like that from their perspective and the tyranny that they have. And yes, I think sometimes, now look, I'm an American. I don't want people from other countries telling me how to run my country. I'm not going to tell them how to run theirs. But there was a pretty insightful message I got from someone from Australia saying, just like we always say, don't you guys lose it in America, because not so good in Australia, right? Wow. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Did I catch up on all the chats, Linda? I really appreciate all of you. So many people in here with awesome comments. I'll catch up on all of these throughout the week. I always do. Usually by the weekend. So much chat tonight. It might actually take me till next week to get them all, but to read all of it. Rob Morris has an encouraging comment. It's easy to call. Very easy. All you do is leave a message and say, I'm against XXX. Yeah, it's pretty darn easy, actually. Go watch the Legally Armed America video, guys. I was going to play it tonight. It's 2 minutes long. You know what I'm saying? Tell him 28EDU says hi when you're over there in the comments. I was going to play that tonight, but there's just a little more information on the whole M855 Lake City thing. And it's like, yeah, and stuff from the government. I don't know. You guys can decide for sure what you think about all that. All right. Is there any more that caught your fancy, Linda, that you want me to, you want to throw up there real quick? And I'm going to get out of here because it's not exactly hot in here, but yeah, I wouldn't mind going outside for a minute where it's about 20 degrees cooler. Big John, number 194, Kentucky. Long live the Republic. Yes, sir, Big John. And shout out to Kentucky for sure. Kentucky's a fine state that I will be driving through very soon. What's happening, JDV3? How you doing, man? Denny's plant-based journey. Pillbox bunker. William says, we will fire you. There you go. Call him up. We'll fire you. That's perfectly acceptable to say. I would encourage that, actually. ADXR 920 channel supporter says, we have already lost too much. No compromise. I agree. As soon as we lost one thing, that was too much because it says shall not be infringed. You Diver 22, you've been around this channel a long time. Nice to see you. It says stand for what you believe or not stand at all. Yeah. I'm not telling you guys what you have to do, but I want to be a little tough on this topic right now. We need to get a little more tough. You know what I'm saying? Bad times need to start making strong men because good times make weak men. And I guess we had it too good for too long. And there's been a lot of people that have been weak. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. And you know what? There's one way to flip this around, and that's how the cycle works. It's time to buck up. It's time to grow a pair. It's time to get strong. Mentally, physically, both, whatever you can handle. You know what I'm saying? Randy Smith, happy Father's Day to you, man. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Dads, grandpas, all of you. Shout out to you. I'm a very, very proud father. And I'm going to do a locals video soon with my little one. Bill Camperis, nice to see you, man. Good night, dude. Look at this. You Diver says it's my birthday, and I'm happy to be here. Well, happy birthday, and I'm happy you're here, too. Barney Brady, what's happening? Stream's basically over. I'm just seeing, you know, lots of good people here. Chanzig, prayers for y'all. More with you than against you. We're in the same headspace. Thank you for streaming. All right. Lots of encouragement going around. Mike McClune, always offering some encouragement and some shout outs. I've never met Mike in real life. When are we going to do that, man? I'm going to have my 2A EDU hangout this summer, probably closer to the fall. Linda said maybe do it more like late summer kind of thing, due to some other stuff. But I have a feeling Mike McClune's the kind of guy that usually kind of has a smile on his face and usually making a joke. What do you guys think? Hey, AOC. Hey, AOC actually finally realized that gun control is racist. Can you believe that? I actually agree with her on that. Of course it is. Of course it is. Always has been. It was literally created out of such, like by literal definition. AOC says she's against the gun control bill. I'm going to leave with this. Did you guys hear that? Go look it up. AOC literally came out and said, I'm against the gun control bill because it's racist. It's like, where have you been the whole time? Gun control was literally founded in this country out of racism and always has been and always will be, actually. Wow. But, hey. Look, I'm going to have one more person here. Let's call up AOC and say, you're right. Call up everyone in the squad. No, I'm being serious. Because if the Senate passes it, it has to go back to the House. Okay, call all these senators. If you guys want to have some fun, but I'm actually being dead serious. They're called the squad. Look it up. AOC +3, the squad. Call the squad. They're very influential. They're the real Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker in name only. Call them up and say, I agree with you. The House can't pass the Senate bill because it is racist. And you're not lying when you say that, because it truly is. Call AOC on this. I'm not even joking. Look up her quotes. Look up her quotes. Now, does it mean we're going to agree with her on anything else? No, but a broken clock is actually right twice a day. And don't forget that. And AOC probably said one of the most correct things I've ever heard a politician say. She'll probably be wrong on everything else she says the rest of her life. Call up the squad, guys. Seriously, call up the squad, they're called. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. It's called AOC +3. And say, I agree, actually. Thanks, Marksman TV. Yeah, dude, I try to bring the issues to light. And mainly, I just like to be a host where you guys can all hang out and talk about ammo and current issues. And I think we did a lot of that tonight. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I appreciate all of you. And I will see you all here on YouTube, and I'm already looking forward to it. Next Friday, 9:30 Eastern time. I will have a standalone gun video in the meantime. Hopefully no Breaking Bad news to report, but maybe if there's something like that. But then you're going to have to wait a whopping about 22 hours. Okay? 22 hours, and you can see me right over on Locals. That's another site. It's free to join, or you can support. You can actually support as a free member too, which makes all this a total win-win for everybody. Yes, Marksman TV's got it. She's against the extended background checks for people 18 to 21 due to racism. And you know what, though? Call up the squad. I'm being serious. Say, you're darn right it's racist. All gun control is, clearly. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. Thanks, Dave. I just saw that at the last minute. Give me some encouragement. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.